In this episode, we take one of the most famous ideas in cybersecurity and turn it into something much more useful than a definition you memorize once and forget. New learners often hear about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA, very early, but many of them are taught to treat it like a short list rather than a way of thinking. That creates a problem, because the value of CIA is not just that it names 3 security goals. Its real value is that it helps you judge situations, compare risks, and make sense of why one security decision may be better than another. If you think of CIA as a compass instead of a vocabulary item, it becomes much easier to understand what good security is trying to protect and why different controls exist in the first place. This matters for a beginner because the security field can feel crowded with terms, frameworks, and rules, but a compass gives you direction when the details start to pile up. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at cyber.News in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A compass does not solve the journey for you, but it helps you stay oriented when the path becomes confusing. That is exactly what CIA does in cybersecurity. When you encounter a policy, a process, a safeguard, or a risk, you can ask which part of CIA it is protecting most directly and whether it is helping balance all 3 in a sensible way. This makes security feel less random because actions that once seemed unrelated begin to reveal a common purpose. Restricting access to sensitive records supports confidentiality. Validating data before trusting it supports integrity. And planning for outages supports availability. Once those patterns become visible, the field starts to look more connected and less overwhelming. That shift is important because beginners often think security is mainly about blocking bad actors, when in reality security is about preserving trust in information and systems so that people, organizations, and missions can continue operating safely and responsibly. Confidentiality is the part of the compass that asks a simple question with enormous importance. Who should be allowed to know or see this information, and who should not? When confidentiality is protected, sensitive information stays in the hands of people who are authorized to access it for a legitimate reason. When confidentiality is lost, information is exposed to the wrong audience, and that exposure can harm people, damage trust, create legal problems, or give an attacker an advantage. A beginner might assume confidentiality is only about secret government material or dramatic breaches involving huge companies, but that is much too narrow. Everyday examples matter just as much, including student records, medical information, payroll details, customer data, and internal business plans. Confidentiality is really about controlling visibility in a disciplined way because information does not need to be public to be useful, and it does not need to be stolen dramatically to cause harm if it reaches the wrong eyes. The easiest mistake beginners make with confidentiality is assuming that if data exists inside an organization, everyone inside that organization should be able to see it. That idea feels convenient, but it ignores the reality that access should follow role, need, and responsibility rather than simple membership. A person can be trusted as an employee and still not need access to every record in the environment. Another misunderstanding is thinking confidentiality only matters when data is at rest somewhere in a file or database. In truth, confidentiality matters when information is stored, viewed, discussed, transmitted, printed, and even casually handled in daily work. A conversation in the wrong place, a document left out where others can see it, or an email sent to the wrong recipient can all break confidentiality without any advanced attack taking place. This helps show why confidentiality is not just a technology issue. It is also a people issue and a process issue, because information exposure often happens through ordinary mistakes rather than dramatic technical failure. Integrity points the compass in a different direction. It asks whether information, systems, and processes remain accurate, trustworthy, complete, and protected from improper change. If confidentiality is about who can see something, integrity is about whether what you are seeing can be trusted. That matters deeply because bad decisions can be made from false or corrupted information, even if the information was never exposed to the wrong person. A report with altered numbers, a record with missing entries, a system setting changed without approval, or a message modified in transit can all damage integrity. The result may be confusion, poor business decisions, failed services, or dangerous outcomes in environments where accuracy matters. Beginners sometimes imagine integrity as a technical concept that only concerns system administrators or developers, but that is too limited. Any environment that depends on reliable records, dependable transactions, or accurate communication depends on integrity, whether people call it that or not. One reason integrity is so important is that damage to it is not always obvious right away. A confidentiality failure is often easier to imagine because you can picture the wrong person seeing protected information. Integrity failures can be quieter and more deceptive. The information may still look normal, the system may still appear functional, and the process may still move forward, but something essential has been altered, lost, or corrupted underneath the surface. That is why integrity has such a strong connection to trust. If people cannot trust that information remains accurate and unapproved changes are prevented or detected, then their confidence in decisions, operations, and reporting begins to weaken. For beginners, this is a useful reminder that security is not only about secrecy. Security is also about confidence that what people rely on is still what it is supposed to be. When integrity is strong, decisions rest on a firmer foundation. When it is weak, even routine work becomes uncertain because no one is completely sure what to believe. Availability completes the compass by asking whether information and systems are reachable and usable when needed by authorized users. This is the part of CIA that new learners often understand most quickly because everyone has experienced the frustration of a service being down or a needed system becoming unreachable at the worst possible time. Still, availability is more than convenience. In many settings, lack of availability can interrupt operations, delay services, stop communication, damage revenue, frustrate customers, or even place safety at risk. A system that is perfectly confidential and perfectly accurate is still failing its purpose if the right people cannot use it when they need it. Availability reminds us that security is not just about locking things down. It is also about supporting continued operation. That makes it a good corrective to the beginner instinct that stronger security always means more restriction. Sometimes strong security means building resilience, planning for failure, and ensuring that systems continue to serve the mission under stress. Availability also helps reveal another beginner misconception, which is the belief that every security measure is good if it makes access harder. Harder for whom is the right question. Security should create friction for the wrong person and dependable access for the right person. If a system becomes so restricted, fragile, or poorly planned that legitimate users cannot work, the organization still has a security problem because the mission is being harmed. This is why availability connects closely to design decisions, maintenance, continuity planning, redundancy, and practical support for business operations. It also shows why cybersecurity cannot be separated from operational reality. A hospital, a school, a logistics company, or a government office all need systems to function in order to serve people. Availability, therefore, represents a promise that security should support dependable service rather than accidentally undermining it. When beginners understand this, they begin to see that good security is not about saying no to everything. It is about enabling safe and reliable work. The real power of CIA appears when you stop viewing the three parts as separate boxes and start noticing how they interact. In the real world, one decision can support one part strongly while creating tension with another part if it is not designed carefully. Very tight access restrictions may help confidentiality, but if legitimate users cannot get what they need in time, availability may suffer. Allowing rapid changes without enough oversight may improve speed for a moment, but integrity may weaken because accuracy and approval were not protected. Keeping every system open and easy to reach might feel efficient, but confidentiality and integrity could be placed at greater risk. This balance is why CIA works so well as a compass. It encourages you to ask not only what benefit a decision brings, but also what trade-off it may introduce. Beginners who learn this early develop better judgment because they stop assuming every security improvement is automatically good in every direction. Using CIA as a compass means learning to ask simple but powerful questions whenever you encounter a control, a policy, or a scenario. What is being protected here? Which part of CIA seems most central in this situation? What could go wrong if this safeguard is missing? Could this action help one security goal while weakening another? These questions do not require advanced technical experience, but they do create a disciplined thinking habit. For example, if access is granted too broadly, confidentiality may be at risk because too many people can view sensitive information. If changes are made casually or without proper review, integrity may be at risk because information and systems can no longer be trusted to remain accurate and authorized. If there is no plan for outages, backups, or recovery, availability may be at risk because needed services may not be restored quickly enough. The beauty of this approach is that it helps beginners reason through unfamiliar situations without needing deep specialist knowledge. CIA also helps you make sense of why organizations use a mixture of technical, administrative, and physical protections rather than relying on one kind of defense. A policy that limits access based on role supports confidentiality because it defines who should see what. A review and approval process for important changes supports integrity because it reduces the chance of improper or accidental modification. A backup strategy, alternate process, or resilient design supports availability because it prepares the organization to continue operating through problems. Physical protections matter too, because a locked room, controlled workspace, or secure storage area can support all three parts depending on the situation. This is useful for beginners because it shows that the compass is not tied to a single technology. It works across people, process, and technology alike. Once you see that, security decisions begin to feel more coherent because different safeguards stop looking like unrelated rules and start looking like coordinated efforts to preserve trustworthy operations. Another important lesson is that different kinds of information and systems may emphasize different parts of CIA at different times. A payroll database may place strong emphasis on confidentiality because compensation details are sensitive, while also needing integrity because incorrect records could affect many people. A public-facing website may tolerate public visibility of its basic content, so confidentiality may matter less for that specific content, but availability may be crucial because the site needs to remain reachable. A financial transaction system may place especially strong emphasis on integrity because the correctness of each transaction is essential, while still depending on confidentiality and availability as well. This does not mean one part stops mattering entirely. It means the compass can help you recognize priority without forgetting balance. That is a valuable skill for new learners because it encourages context-based thinking. Good security judgment is rarely about repeating the same answer every time. It is about understanding which aspect of protection is under the greatest pressure in the specific situation before you. Beginners often make mistakes with CIA because they memorize definitions without practicing how those definitions behave in realistic situations. They may hear that confidentiality is about secrecy, integrity is about accuracy, and availability is about access, yet still struggle when a scenario mixes all three. That is why it helps to translate the concepts into plain judgment. If the wrong person learns something sensitive, confidentiality was harmed. If the information was changed, corrupted, or cannot be trusted, integrity was harmed. If the right person cannot get to the system or information when needed, availability was harmed. These plain language checks can help you quickly orient yourself during study and on exam questions. They also keep you from falling into the trap of thinking the concepts are more complicated than they really are. The security field contains many advanced topics, but CIA remains powerful precisely because it is clear, foundational, and widely applicable. Complexity grows from it, but the core logic stays understandable. As your understanding grows, CIA becomes more than a study topic and starts becoming a mental habit you can carry into almost every security conversation. When someone proposes a new process, you can ask how it protects sensitive information, how it preserves trust in records and actions, and how it supports continued service for legitimate users. When you hear about a security incident, you can consider which part of CIA was affected most directly and what secondary effects might follow. When you compare safeguards, you can think about which part of the compass they address most strongly and whether anything important has been overlooked. This is what makes CIA such a useful starting point for brand new learners. It gives you a simple structure for thinking clearly before you know every framework or control family in detail. Instead of feeling lost in a sea of terminology, you begin building a stable internal reference point that helps new ideas attach to something meaningful. As we close, remember that CIA is not important because it is famous, short, or easy to place on a flashcard. It is important because it gives you a dependable way to think about what cybersecurity is trying to protect at the most basic level. Confidentiality helps you protect information from the wrong audience. Integrity helps you protect trust in data, systems, and actions. Availability helps you protect the ability of authorized users to get what they need when they need it. When you hold those three ideas together, they become a practical compass that points you toward better security reasoning. That is why this concept belongs near the center of your learning from the very beginning. The more often you use CIA to interpret situations, compare controls, and recognize trade-offs, the more natural security thinking will start to feel, and that foundation will support almost everything else you study next.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.